What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so before I get into this video, I want to give a shout out to a couple of subscribers for showing love to the channel. Much respect to the brother Zach Hankins for the donation via the Cash App. I saw your video request. I'll probably do a video about that tomorrow. And shout out to the man, the myth, the legend, the brother Robert Mason coming through with the donation once again via the PayPal. I saw your video request and probably do one of them tomorrow and the other one on Monday. So salute to you, longtime supporters of this platform. So, of course, over the past week, the sports world, in particular the NBA sports world, has been dominated by this beef that continues to cook between LeBron James and Stephen A. Smith. And in particular, people are talking about what happened with LeBron James as far as things he said on the Pat McAfee show, right? So we talked about so many different things that have been said about that, right? But there's one thing that I think some people have missed, right? And that is LeBron James disrespecting. When I listen to him, in essence, it sounds like he's talking about guys like Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal. And there are probably some other players as well. But it's interesting that LeBron James went on the Pat McAfee show, a guy who's known for being a little bit more flippant, a little bit more outspoken. He chose to go on the Pat McAfee show to disrespect people who talk sports. This is exactly what he said. He really was talking about former athletes, but this is what he said. Let me see if I can find it. He said, quote, "And then you realize, you're like, I'll be looking at it and I hear it. I mean, those guys, a lot of those guys that played the game or did not play the game, it's just they played while they were talented, but I don't think they ever thought the game. I don't think they were ever smart. I just think they were bigger and stronger and maybe faster at the time, and they dominated. And when it was over, you know? That's why I'm able to still play at 40. Mine is just I can play the game because I can outthink the guys out there. And as my athleticism has gone down a notch, not a lot, don't you dare, a little fat too, you know, as my athleticism has gone down a notch, I'm still able to bring up other facets of my game to still do what I need to do every single night. But the talking heads of our sport, oh my goodness." So to me, he's basically talking about Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, and he said those who didn't play. He might be talking about Stephen A. Smith, some of the other people that he, insulted. Look, this is the thing that I'm going to say about Shaquille O'Neal and Charles Barkley and those guys, right? Shaquille O'Neal is the second, in my opinion, the second most dominant player in the history of the game. Unlike LeBron, Shaquille O'Neal has a winning finals record. Unlike LeBron James, Shaq was able to translate his dominance into team success as well. I know I get on here sometimes, say things about Shaq, but only because I'm comparing him against Wilt. I've never seen a player as dominant as Shaquille O'Neal outside of Wilt Chamberlain. Not even Michael Jordan was as dominant as Shaq as far as game planning for this dude. That Shaq had the work ethic of some other all-time greats? Perhaps not. And I know that's kind of leading into what he's trying to say. Charles Barkley was a guy that was immensely talented. You know what I'm saying? And Charles dominated the game. Did Charles have the work ethic of Michael Jordan or some of his other peers? No. So to me, he's clearly talking about those two dudes, right? But this is the thing. Charles Barkley had terrible injuries. First, I remember correctly, when he turned 30, he started having issues with his back. Then I think he started having issues not only just with his back, which got worse, but he also started having issues, I think, with his knees, which hindered his ability to dominate in the way that he once did. But he made adjustments. Charles Barkley wasn't a guy that just was jumping out of the gym and then when he got old, he stopped being effective. He was outthinking guys as well. Charles Barkley, who was 37 years old on one leg, averaged 23 and 13 in the 1999 playoff series against Shaq and Kobe when they were in the apex of their athletic prime. You don't do that just off of athletic ability. You don't do that just off athletic ability. And Charles Barkley's career was ended, I think it was an ACL injury. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. Back when those injuries were much more difficult to come back from. And also, Charles Barkley was never linked to PEDs like somebody I know. Shaq, you know what I'm saying? Shaq just physically deteriorated. Shaq, it was a combination of age, attrition, I think just the weight, you know what I'm saying, him being 320, 350, just it just took its toll on his body, man. Playing a center position in the NBA is different than playing on the perimeter. It takes a toll on you, banging down low the way the centers used to play. You bang down low. I know Shaq is big, but Shaq put on a lot of weight to take and absorb some of the punishment that he was taking down low. You go up against Akeem Olajuwon and Patrick Ewing and David Robinson and Alonzo Mourning and all these other guys day in and day out. You know what I'm saying? Dwight Howard later on. You know what I'm saying? Big Ben Wallace. You go up against these guys day in and day out. It's going to take a toll on you. And also, these two dudes, they understand that while they do talk basketball, they're entertainers. And just because you don't like what they got to say, don't mean you sit there and say they don't know the game. You don't be a Hall of Famer. You don't become a 4-time NBA champion if you don't know the game. You don't become a Hall of Famer if you don't know the game. And you want to talk about people who say dumb shit, right? One of your top Glazers, Gilbert Arenas, says dumb shit all the time, day in and day out. But because he, you know what I'm saying, says what you want to hear, you don't want to call him out. These guys are entertainers. Their bosses request that they say some of the silliest things for entertainment value. You know why part of that is? Because most of the basketball audience a lot of them have become casuals. You know, part of that is, your fault. Because you, as far as putting all these La Media cheerleaders out there, they cater to the lowest common denominator, so they just want to be entertained. That's the main audience, and that's your legacy. You're not the only dude in the history of the NBA to think the game. The arrogance of this clown. And then I'm going to tell you another thing that bothers me about that. Why in the world, and I'm sorry, I just got to say this. Why in the fuck would you go on a Pat McAfee show and talk about intelligence or lack thereof of fellow black athletes? Bro, you was a clown for that, man. I tell you, every single week I lose more and more respect for this dude. You know what you're doing, bro. That tells me all I need to know about this guy. So you too good to talk basketball with anybody other than somebody that look like who you think or you just assume are more intelligent. That's why you do a podcast with JJ Redneck. That's why you go on the Pat McAfee show or the Kelsey Brothers show. Now you're going to do one with Steve Nash because you just make the assumption that they're smarter. Nigga, use a chocolate covered W supremacist. That's what you are. That's what you starting to look like. Michael Jordan is starting to look pretty goddamn good now. Pretty good. What was that basketball intelligence with that stupid inbound pass the other day? Anyway, man, that's all I got to say about it, man. Tell what you guys think.